Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We are very excited for today's show. We have a very special guest, Lonie Paxton, three-time Super Bowl champion and former player for the Patriots and the Broncos is here. We'll talk to him all about his illustrious career, how he began with Tom in the three first Super Bowl championships, his career, post-career, and what he thinks about this current state of the NFL and the New England Patriots. All that and more on this week's episode of the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. It's Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. James is still not here for this week, but we are here with producer John. And we have a very special guest this week, Lonie Paxton, the long snapper for the beginning of the dynasty New England Patriots is here. Welcome, Lonie.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So, as I said, you were there in the beginning when it all began and got to see the beginning of the Belichick run, the beginning of Tom Brady's career, and both of the big parts of those three Super Bowl championships. So just talk to us a little bit about your first few years there and how you kind of saw this dynasty. I'm interested to hear how you saw this dynasty form.
Yeah, I mean, no one really knew it was a dynasty when we came into the league. It was, just coming out of college. The Patriots kind of had a couple rough years with Pete Carroll and at least towards the end they did. And 2000, we all came in. Brady and I were on the same plane heading, I think we were connecting through Minneapolis into Rhode Island and whatever. And we get there, we don't know anything better. And we're just kind of stoked to be in the NFL and trying to do our part, trying to make the team. And, Belichick came, he was brutal to play for those first couple of years, especially year one. And then after that year, we kind of got into this scenario where we had a coach pass away in training camp. We had 9/11. We had, obviously the missed week for 9/11, and then came back, played the Jets, and Bledsoe gets hurt. Here comes Tom. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a weird scenario, but I remember leaving that we were 5-11 in 2000 and drove across country with my girlfriend at the time. And it was like, I felt like I didn't even play in the NFL because we were terrible. We had a weird game at the end of the year against the Dolphins. Everyone had to come back on the field. They were in their towels already showering. And I think Michael Bishop threw they just wanted him to come back and throw a 70-yard bomb, just to end the game. But yeah, it was an odd way to start, but it definitely played out. So
I'm with the Bledsoe that because that was a crazy season leading up to that first Super Bowl. Bledsoe gets hurt. What is the feeling like? What was your feeling in the locker room when that happened? It's the leader of the team goes out with a big injury, and now you got second year. No one knew what Tom Brady was going to be. 6th-round quarterback selection, draft selection. How did it feel to be in there in that locker room?
Like I said, I think we were all coming off of 9/11, and it was just an odd time in American history. And Joe Andruzzi had brothers who were in the Trade Center and got out, and I think we all came together as a team. We all believed in one another. We studied hard, we played hard. We had no individuals on that team. Never really have on the Patriots, but definitely in that team. And the leader goes out and people got to step up. The defense got to step up. Guys like Vinatieri and, kicking game winners and whatnot. And it's just I think the entire team knew they had to do their part even a little bit more. And who knew? I think we maybe lost that game or won that game, lost another, and then won like the rest out 9 or 10 straight to finish the season.
Is there any, I know you kind of mentioned it before with Bill being tough, especially on the young guys beginning. Is there, in the first year he was there, is there any fun Bill stories that you have, or just something that stood out to you that you'll always remember in your career?
Yeah, he's got a ton of them, just calling guys out in meetings and it was kind of for me as a long snapper. I had such a small role. It was a big role when it came down to it, but it was such a small role in the scheme of things. And we had, I think we went and got blown out by by Miami. I think it was the Wildcat year, right, where they came in and like had this. Didn't have a quarterback. They had the running back Ronnie Brown and just ran all over us that game. And you there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I've got a call. Riley, stay over there, please. So we had, we got blown out. We come back, and I remember after the game, after our Monday practice, we had he brought out a game ball, and he had a shovel with him, and we were in the middle of the practice field, and he just started digging a hole, and he's like, anyone want to get some? And so guys just started digging the hole. We put the game ball in there, and we buried it. And, guys were spitting on the ball. I think one guy took a leak on the ball, and it was like, it was just like, we got to bury this. This is a memory that, it's a lesson, and it's something that we got to change and correct and move forward. That's
one of my favorite things about Bill is that, like, obviously you learn from each week. You learn from losses and like wins every game each week, but he leaves it behind and he moves on. He's focusing on the next week. He's always looking ahead to that next game that, like, we won, or we lost this game. We got to fix what we did, or, we won, good thing, but now we got to focus on how to win the next game. So I think that's a great trait and a great mentality to have as like a head coach, just so you can focus on the next challenge ahead of you and you don't get bogged down by the loss or, the win that you, like a big win you just had,
Yeah. I mean, he was always, 4 or 5 games ahead of the current opponent, who we're playing that week. If you know by now, you've lost already. So he was 3 or 4 teams ahead. We always came into the team meeting on Monday. And, we reviewed the film, and come on Wednesday, it's like, we got to do these 3 things to win. If you do 2 out of 3, we ain't winning. We're not going to be sitting here on Monday happy. And honestly, there was never a Monday where we came into a meeting happy, whether it was a blowout on our side or their side. Everybody got MF'd.
I think, I could be mixing up the because I've seen a lot of the NFL films or the documentaries that they have like in the film rooms of like the Patriots with Bill. But I think there was one game that I forget what year it was. It might have been even towards the end, like 07 that year. It might have been with Randy on 07 or something. I can't remember. But I remember, I think it was Miami, and it was like a pitching a shutout going into the fourth quarter, and the defense was dancing around, and they gave up. They came down and scored a touchdown. It was like, it was still like 40-something to 7. And he ripped into him that game, and then he rips into him in the film. And it's so funny because it's like you have to play the whole game, the entire game hard, no time off, and he's going to rip into you.
No, I mean, it was, like I said, I mean, Mondays were just horrible. I mean, whether we had a blowout or not, it was low-light Mondays regardless. I mean, you win by 40, he's going to pick out the 10 things you did wrong no matter what. And he is a 60-minute guy. He's going to play 60 minutes every time. And that's the way he coaches people. And, I remember one year, Randy, he was either late to a team meeting or got into like a little, there was a tiff with a player or something. And it was snowing outside. We were practicing in the stadium. And there's probably 6 inches of snow on the ground. I mean, the field's pretty clear. But he didn't care, and Randy did something, or maybe it was something that happened, and he made him run stadiums. I mean, he's making our best receiver, in cleats on like a Friday run stadiums because he screwed up, and it just came to show you that, no one's safe. I mean, everyone is part of the team. It's no one's above anyone else. So
we had Jagera Davis on a few weeks back, and he told a story like same thing, like first day of camp, rookies come into film room. And first day of film, he's ripping Tom apart. And it's like that kind of showed shockwaves to the rookies. Like, oh, man, I got to be good. Because if he's ripping into Tom, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if you're, a Hall of Fame player. He's going to rip into you. And that's I never.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the guy, he ripped into Junior Seau, and that was one of the most intimidating players I've ever seen on the field. And, of course, Junior probably had like a smart ass remark, but at the end of the day, like, no one's safe.
Yeah. Now, you were talking about Mondays, and just I'm interested because I obviously never been in that situation, but so is every Monday just film day, or do you guys is it film like for a while, then you go out and do practice, or is that just?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. If it's like a West Coast game, you get back super late. Sometimes it'll be like, hey, come in a little later, like at 11. I mean, we had times where, we got back from, I think it was playing the Raiders, a night game on the West Coast, and we got back at like 6 or 7 in the morning, got stuck in Boston traffic, coming back to the stadium. And we got to basically go right into the film room and get treatment. I mean, guys are banged up. Right. They got to see the trainer, and then you got to get a workout in. If you don't get a lift in, it's conduct detrimental. You get fined and all this stuff, and then you got to review every single play multiple times.
Interesting. I just always wondered, because we know they practice every day. You maybe get an off day, like you said, if they get in late, but there has to be I didn't know if Monday was the light, you do film and get your treatment and do lifts, or it's full contact pads. And
No, not contact. We wouldn't do anything till Wednesday contact wise. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you get out there and stretch the legs out. Got to do 1,000 yard striders and stuff.
Yeah. So back to that first year we were talking about, or second year, the first Super Bowl. You were part of arguably one of the biggest plays in Patriots history, with the snap to Vinatieri for the game-winning field goal. What was going through your head for that? Because first of all, we heard Madden say it on the announcement, they're just taking in and going to OT. Tom drives down the field, and a great play, and now we're in position to win a Super Bowl. Talk to me about those moments leading up to that big kick.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I'm a California kid, so you're sitting there in 8 inches of snow and got family in the stands. And, like I said, it was kind of an odd year, and we had to play that first game. And obviously the call went our way. Mm-hmm. And Adam kicks a 48-yarder to tie it up. And I mean, once we kind of started driving the ball, we had a couple passes to Wiggins and J.R. Redmond, and there was a couple other guys that made some plays, and we just get into position to have a chip shot and go play in the snow.
That's awesome. That the snow game must have been, that was probably one of the that was a fun game to watch. And it must have been kind of brutal playing, but it was a fun one to watch for me. Looking back, back then when I was obviously younger, but I remember that it was yesterday, because it was just such a fun game.
Yeah. Watch. I mean, it's, those game. I mean, every game takes a lot out of you. I mean, you got to stay locked in the whole time. But the elements really, seem to drain you even more when especially as a long snapper, I'm focused on my grip, my footing, trying to throw a strike in driving winds or snow or whatever, and get laces on a field goal and not give up a blocked punt. And there's a lot of things that go into it, in addition to, just the elements and trying to focus in extra hard, on the situation, on the little things.
What, not to go back too much, but what got you into being a long snapper? What was, was that something that you started as at a young age, or is that just something that you grew into in college, or, your first year of the pros? Or
it's funny, because I was just growing up, I could always throw pretty good. I was a pitcher, played first base, could always kind of chuck the ball super far. I remember, I didn't play tackle football until I was a freshman. I was kind of fat. I mean, I'm still a little chubby, but I was definitely, as a kid, I was heavier, so I would have been with the older guys. And so my parents kind of, my mom kind of put a smack on it. But in flag football, I was playing quarterback. So I'm just throwing darts. My freshman year of high school was the quarterback. And one play, and I was kind of trading in as a long snapper, because I could throw it pretty good. And I remember I dove down to the ground, the center misjudged a snap, and I fumbled it, and I dive on the ball to recover the fumble, and I broke his leg. And so the same play, or the same series, I go from quarterback to center, and they never kind of moved me back. Oh, wow. So the coach took me aside and said, "Hey, you're gonna be a center, so you're gonna start putting on weight and working out more. So you don't ever think you're going back." But the long snapping thing, my dad had season tickets to the LA Rams growing up, and we would always go early and watch the snappers, kickers, cheerleaders, everything, like the dramatics, like the pregame. And I remember the snapper was right in front of me, and I was like, man, that guy can throw just like missiles between his legs. And the guy I'm competing against does it with one arm. What if I use two? And so I started using two hands and just was more accurate. And kind of the rest of history got me to college. And I played O-line still in college, but it ended up being the ticket to the pros.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Like, just, it's funny how things work out. Like, you went in thinking you're going to be a quarterback, and then just one play changed your whole life. That's incredible. And we weren't very good. We had like 4 touchdowns the entire season my freshman year. So, we lost every game. But looking back, it was just, I always did it to be someone who could help the team. So, okay, I'm going to move to center to help the team. I'm going to long snap because I can do it better than a couple other guys. So I'm going to do it to help the team. So, looking at, because you're a 3-time Super Bowl champion, is there anyone that stands out to you more like than the other? Are they all the same? Like, all is special? It's like a lot of guys say that win more. It's like they're just like their kids. Is everyone special for a different reason? Is there anyone that stands out to you more than the other? Or?
Well, I mean, like as a rookie, Vinatieri took me in as it was, I beat out a couple veterans and another rookie to be the long snapper. So, he immediately took me under his wing, and coming in with Brady, we've just known each other for 20 years now, and kind of we're in similar situations. And, but then you got the older veterans that were there, like the Willie McGinnis and Kevin Falk and Troy Brown, guys like that. And then you kind of like wanted to emulate. And then come 2001, then we get Vrabel and Izzo and some other guys that key pieces of the puzzle. So, Roman Pfeiffer. I mean, there were so many guys, and I look back at, the three winning teams I was on, and, the guys part of that nucleus really stand out to me. And it's weird. It kind of went from, we lost in 07, and I left the team after 9 seasons. And then, then they end up winning 3 more, going to, 4 more, whatever it was, 5 more. So it's just kind of unique to see those two kind of pockets of players that have, been around.
Those were unbelievable teams back in the early 2000s, the 01, the 3 championships in that early 2000. Like you said, Willie McGinnis, Mike Vrabel, all those guys were incredible players. And I think it's funny because now we're far enough along. We're going to start seeing some of these guys. We already started to see it with like Randy and stuff, but we're going to start seeing them go into the Hall of Fame, which is going to be fun for us, like in New England, because we're going to start seeing a bunch of guys from those teams start making their way in. But Teddy, I think Teddy's on that list. I mean, he is one of the best Patriots of all time, and a guy who just, emulated teamwork and leadership. And I forgot to mention when I was talking about those nucleus, but man, that guy had such a impact on me. He played on punt team when I was there. So I was the rookie snapper, and he's on punt team. And, a couple times he MF'd me and, set me straight and was like, we got to pick this up. And, those guys definitely all deserve it. I mean, that's a little biased on my opinion, but I think you'll start to see a lot of them get in. I bet looking at it, like I bet Teddy could get after it in practice, and he seems like the nice, sweet guy, but I feel like he could get after it. Like if you do something wrong, it's like he's going to be up your.
Oh, they all got after it. And, like I said, I mean, Bill he leaned on the veterans to really, drive that hammer individually. I mean, he's not the rah coach, so if you don't have those veterans who are kind of picking up those, becoming that leader in their own little squads and positions, then it doesn't work.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of times you came in with Tom. What is like your view? Like you know him obviously even in another light because you were walked into camp with him. So is there any how you've seen his transition from when he first came in to now? Obviously he's there's no debate, he's the greatest quarterback ever to play. But is there anything that stands out to you on his transition from the 6th round draft choice to the quarterback he is now?
I mean, it was a gradual process for sure. And I mean, he was always, he looked up to Drew and competed hard. And John Freeze, our rookie year, was there. Michael Bishop, like older guys, and Flutie came in. Like, there was a lot of inspiration along the way. Cliff Kingsbury, Matt Castle, guys like that. And, he's gradually, just over time, taken better care of himself, led by example. You'd see him be one of the first guys in the morning with a briefcase and a little East Coast hat, and one of the last guys to leave, and was one of the first guys who had like a body coach, like this individual. At least guys would do it away from the stadium, but you kind of knew that this guy Alex was like his guy and helped him take care of him, and just over time has become better every year, and better at being vocal with people who he wants to bring up, and a better friend, just a better person in general, and it all translates to production.
Looking at Tom's career, it's like almost like he has 2 Hall of Fame careers. Like, you look at the first half pre-injury, and then you look at his second half, it's like just as good, if not better. It's like there's very few athletes in a whole, like in all sports, that you can say that about. Like, if you look at someone's overall career so far, and it's not over yet. That I said he probably's got a few more years in him. But you look at his career so far, and it's like very few athletes you can say like, oh, this middle point is a Hall of Fame to this point, and now it's incredible. He's an incredible guy.
Can you put him in twice is the question.
Yeah. I mean,
be the first to do it.
Yeah.
him and Kobe.
Yeah, that's right. That's honestly the player I thought of, like the only other player I could think of, like the 2 careers, like, it's incredible. Now, when you left New England, I saw this when I was, we were preparing for this episode. When you signed with Denver, you became the second highest paid long snapper in the NFL. That's pretty awesome to be like.
Yeah,
you're one of them.
That was. Yeah, I mean, listen, I bled Patriots colors my first part of the career. They always gave me the opportunity. I will be a Patriot for life. At that point in my career, I'd been to 4 Super Bowls. I had made a little bit of money. I mean, long snappers don't ever get a chance to have that happen to them. And I was considered, at that level. And I actually had a tough decision to make, whether it's making minimum for the Patriots, who I have this passion for, or is it sign this 5-year deal that could be life-changing? And I had to make like a family decision at that point. And I remember crying to my girlfriend, now wife, of like, this is a hard decision. It wasn't easy to walk away from a minimum salary on one of the greatest teams ever with the greatest players and greatest coach, to what it was in Denver.
But it's still like, it shows like how great you were as a player. Like, it's pretty impressive. Like, cause like you said, long snappers typically don't get paid that big contract, and that was like, it shows how great you were at what you did.
I appreciate it. I mean, it was, like I said, I'm a piece of the puzzle, and I just tried to throw it perfectly 8 yards and 15 yards every time and not give up block punts or field goals. So, for me, I practiced a lot, and I had the rhythm down and the mojo down with my holder, and and I kind of let that part of the business take care of itself.
Now, and the cool thing about it was, after Denver, you got to come back, and you not come back completely, but you signed that 1-day contract with the Patriots to retire Patriot. And I think that's like one of the coolest things like that someone can do. Like, how, like, as you said, you're a Patriot for life, and that just solidified it, coming back, retire Patriot. And that must've been a great feeling to come back and sign at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I see Bridgewater on your hat. My wife's from East Taunton, so.
Oh, no kidding.
I got family back there for life now, and I was able to come back with my one of my boys, and just kind of have a little bit of closure. I wish I'd have played a little bit longer sometimes, and had them see their dad play and whatnot, but it was the right time for me to move on, and to kind of, I'll always remember what Denver did for me, Josh McDaniels taking me there, and the relationship I had there. But, there was some some bit of closure there that happened in New England.
How was it like playing for Josh in Denver? How was that experience playing for him? Because we know him, obviously. He's great. We love him in New England, but we didn't really get a chance to see him too much. A lot of Patriots fans didn't get to see him in Denver and how he operated. Was there a lot of similarities between him and Bill? Was it?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of similarities, and I think that was comforting for me just to kind of be able to go from one system to the other. Coming into a new franchise and a new circle of players, and everyone wants to know what the Patriots are doing, what's the secret sauce, and and some guys, I think kind of took offense to the way he tried to coach people because they weren't used to that. They were used to coaches kind of, just treating them as professionals and these big time athletes, where he kind of came in as like, hey, I'm going to level the playing field. I'm going to bring this nucleus of guys in, and oh, by the way, the old guys from Denver, you're going to have to fall in line. And I think some of them, then not necessarily revolted. I mean, we started off the season 6-0 and went into the bye week, and we beat the Patriots on a last second field goal, in Denver. So, there was like, holy shit, this can actually happen. We're going to do this. And then I think we went like 2-8 the rest of the year or something like that. So there was definitely this spike in like the Patriot way is here, and then like some turmoil towards the end.
Because it's hard because we've seen a lot of coaches come out of the Belichick tree. We have O'Brien, Flores, Vrabel, like a lot of guys are coming out of the Belichick tree, but very few are very like to the degree of Bill, not to the degree of Bill, but have very much success in where they go. Like Billy has done a decent job in Texas, like in Houston. They've had a pretty good run, especially with Deshaun Watson. But I think the one I've seen most is like Brian and down in Miami had an incredible year last year. He's turning that franchise around with, I think, a lot of what he learned from Bill, like that even playing field and that stuff. And Mike Vrabel, who's one of my favorite Patriots from back then. I'm repping Mike right now.
I see that.
But he's doing a great job in Tennessee. But it's interesting, like you said, like I feel like a lot of players don't buy into that if they're not from that. You know what I mean? Like if you're in New England, you already know it. If you're coming there, you kind of have an idea. But like the guys in Denver, the old guys in Denver probably weren't ready for that,
Yeah, I mean, they're not used to getting called out in meetings. They're not used to, being so strict with, late to things and limited time off during, training camp, all these things that, it's like you put the extra effort in and you get the extra kind of rewards out of it. And a lot of them aren't ready for it. And maybe some guys try to be Bill too much. I mean, that could be some of it because that's what they know. And they try to bring that to another franchise and not necessarily be themselves. But, Vrabel's always been himself regardless. Yeah. And, we all knew that he was going to be a head coach from the time we started playing together in 2001. So, that was never a secret. I remember sitting with him on bus 3, with Tom, him, Larry, Teddy, everyone after games, and just we just played a game and they're talking ball already about the play and the scheme and this and that and laughing and cussing each other out but having a great time with it, and you could just see the minds working between that nucleus of players.
I see I can tell Mike has flat strikes of he's built the same as Bill, I think, and mentally wise, because he's got that mentality, just like he wants to rip your heart out. It's like he has that winning mentality, and you see it in different coaches and players in that top of the line. And Mike has that. You can tell when he's coaching, he's no fear. He's just going for the win every single
time. I mean, and he is the greatest asshole on earth. He is the guy that can be the most sarcastic prick in your life, but do it with all love and heart, and you love him for it. And I mean, the guy, he'd play 60, 70 snaps on defense and special teams, and he'd be the first one in the training room and weight room running, 5 miles after the game, just a tremendous athlete, tremendous football brain. But he would get under Tom's skin, get under the offensive skin every single practice. So, you kind of saw that brewing from the get-go.
Now, after retirement, what did you do after, you signed the 1 day with the Patriots, but what were you doing? Any plans after retirement that you did or are doing right now?
Well, it was ironic because the last game of my career was the playoff game against the Steelers, where Tebow did Demaryius Thomas, one play, fastest game ever for, overtime playoff victory. And my wife was in the stands, 23 or 25 weeks pregnant. And a couple days later, the babies wanted to come out, and that's not good, and there was twins in there. So high risk pregnancy already. And so she gets rushed to the hospital. And ironically, that week we're playing the Patriots in New England. And so I had to make this decision, that really kind of changed the course of my career. It was like, stay back with the wife because of the doctor's information said, one of them might not have a chance or have to come out early and not be good. And so, talked to Elway, talked to John Fox, and they were all supportive of it. So, so I hung back, and luckily everyone was healthy, but my mind really wasn't into it the rest of that kind of year and training camp and whatnot. They brought in a young snapper, and I thought I was just as good, but I was definitely more expensive because of my contract. And I remember getting cut, and as soon as I got cut, I started, I had made a couple phone calls, and one of them was GoPro at the time. And it was a manager that, one of their vice presidents, who came from Red Bull into GoPro, and kind of hit him up and said, "Hey man, I really feel like I could be a part of this company and bring some, support, in team sports and with the way this camera can be used. And I don't need a job. I just need you to put me in front of the right people to tell my story and see if I can help." And so kind of the rest is history, and started working for GoPro in December, and was there until recently, till COVID hit, and got hit with some layoffs. And but it's all good now. I'm kind of consulting, advising for multiple brands that are doing really great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's and I think that's something that a lot of, I think, sports players, athletes kind of struggle with after their career. They finding that business, after you retire, what am I going to do? And you did that pretty seamlessly after not retirement, but after playing. And
yeah, it was, it's something that just was in me. I was always kind of known as the guy who had the hookup, or, a guy who knows a guy, and they'd always send stuff into the locker room, and I'd kind of distribute the swag and hey, you need this, you need that, I got a guy. And throughout that process, growing up in Southern California, just being involved in the brands and the way they market and the way they're kind of talking to athletes, consumers, whoever, it just became this kind of natural thing that I've just always done. And that's kind of what GoPro was looking for. That's what some of my partners now are looking for. And it wasn't like a forecast of hey, I need this job after football. It was just a natural thing, because honestly, it's more because I like to have fun and just, get some free stuff. But a lot of guys will, they charge for appearances, and they turn down a lot of things. And, I would go to the charity events that no one's, really caring about, or, go to these places for free and just shake hands and get some cocktails. And at the end of the day, all of those relationships have come into play post-career.
That's awesome. And for the listeners or the viewers, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify, is there any place that they can find you on, social media, or, any websites that go ahead and let them know?
Yeah. So, Lonie Paxton on Instagram, that's all I'm really on. And Lonie with one N, LONIE PAXTON. And some of the cool partners I got, one is called PowerDot. It's a mobile electric stem unit, connects to your phone via Bluetooth, and you get to, that's like a TENS unit you can stem your muscles with. And so they're on the rise, a lot of athletes, and especially with COVID, just the remote kind of therapy aspect of them. They're really cool. So they're at my PowerDot on Instagram. And then Kind Humans is like a philanthropic, platform where we have a sustainable marketplace and tell stories of great causes. And so they're another one of my partners, and they're Kind Humans movement on Instagram. And then the last one is Knocking Point Wines, and they're at Knocking Point. And, we're doing celebrity collaborations with these wines. And so I got one coming up with one of your favorite players. I got some coming up with some celebs here in the near future. So they've all been great, and they're fun to work with. They're small companies. They're nimble. They're on the rise. And a lot of what I learned at GoPro is kind of helping me kind of transition again, into another kind of role.
That's awesome. And make sure you go check. We'll tag you in all our, all our posts coming up this week, so they have a straight line to your Instagram. And I do want to get into, because like we talked a little bit about Tom, but and the Patriots. What is your predictions for this year? First with Tom down in Tampa. I mean, this is, arguably one of the most talented offenses he's been around, and maybe his career or in a while. How do you think that's going to translate this year going in? It is a weird season, but going into the season on short, not a lot of time to work with your offense, no preseason games.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be tricky for every team. I don't think they're, unique to that. The teams that have been together the longest and are most cohesive, I think they'll definitely have some benefits too. But, he's got Gronk. They got a great defense. He's playing in warm weather. A couple of the teams in their conference are all pretty, good climates and stuff. And obviously I'd love to see him play a Super Bowl in Tampa against the Patriots. I mean, what better way to do that?
That's what we said earlier a few weeks ago. I think even before Cam came, we were doing hot takes, and we're like, what would it be to see Tom versus, Bill in a Super Bowl? That would be that'd be one of the greatest Super Bowls to watch.
Yeah.
How do you think Cam's going to do? Do you think I personally think he's going to do great. I think the Patriots are going to do very well this year. But do you think how is he going to adjust into Bill's system? And the Patriots did lose a couple key guys on defense. You think they're going to be able to pick it up and keep moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you come to New England, you just know what you're getting into. So you got to be a team player. The good thing about the Patriots and Bill and his staff is they work to your strengths. They never try to go against the grain. If you're strong at something, they emphasize it, and they try to play to that. What was concerning a little bit last year was some protection issues and obviously the bend don't break kind of issues on defense. So hopefully if those get fixed and you got a mobile quarterback now and ways to get all the skill positions involved, I don't see why they can't, be atop the AFC again.
Yeah, that was something that we talked about before with people always asked about Sony, and I think it was more of the protection and the blocking. We had our line was pretty banged up last year, especially losing Andrews, and I'm glad to see he's, doing all right now and he's in training camp. But I think one of the biggest things on offense was our line was, not a lot of time. And, but with a mobile quarterback, I think it's going to be fun to watch because it's going to be completely different than the last 20 years, with Tom. It's going to be a lot more that, you can do more stuff in the playbook that we haven't been able to do before.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's definitely, I like the young kid as well. I know he got a little injured recently, but, he's the future, hopefully, and hopefully the staff believes in him and plays to his strengths as well. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who's back there. It just everyone's got to really do their part and play that role. It's not me above you. It's playing cohesively.
I'm very high on Jarrett Stidham. I'm very high on him too. I'm glad they're holding. It's almost better because it seems like maybe he's not ready just yet to take the starting role. So that's good that we got Cam in there, and it's a different voice that you hear Tom, get to learn from Tom for a year, get to learn from Cam for a year. They have the Auburn connection too, so it's it'll be good. I think that's the best thing for him, and I think you're right. I think he's the guy of the future. He's very talented. Is there any surprises you think coming out of the NFL? Do you think there's any team that's going to boom this year that we haven't really had on our radar yet, or any bust teams that you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I got confidence in Vrabel again, to make it happen. So they're going to be a tough team to compete against in the AFC. And, obviously, you got a couple players shifting around. And I love watching the Niners play and their tight end and their defense and obviously Jimmy G. And so, it's fun to kind of see these younger players that when I was leaving the league, now kind of coming to their own and some of my former teammates are coaches now and kind of following along. So, obviously have my kind of Patriots alliance, but I love kind of watching them throughout the week and how they're prepping. And, everyone kind of tries to pick my brain about fantasy football, but at the end of the day, like, I just like watching these guys be successful.
Yeah, I think that the Patriots are going to do well too. And I've heard a lot of talks about the Bills. The Bills are right on that edge of pushing through over the hump. They just got Diggs, and that was actually, we did a boom or bust team, like I think we did which team's going to boom and which team's going to bust that we haven't heard from, in the last few years. And my pick was the Bills. I think the Bills are going to be very good this year. A good young quarterback. I like their coach up there, and I'm excited to see that team. And it's kind of good it's tougher for the Patriots, but it's nice to see like that division start to they got a bunch of young quarterbacks, and it's going to be very competitive, I think, in the next few years.
Yep, agree.
So I know we talked a little before about the NBA playoffs, is in full swing. The Celtics. Are you a Celtics fan by any chance? I know you're a big Pats fan, obviously, but being in New England, did you grow accustomed to all the sports in Boston?
Yeah, it's crazy because I grew up a hardcore LA Rams, LA Lakers, Dodgers, Angels fan, just inherently. And then when I got to New England, we beat the Rams, my childhood favorite team, in the Super Bowl. And then, you got the Lakers coming in, the Celtics are playing again, and obviously Magic and Bird. And that was like, I was so one-sided on Magic and having just the title town kind of atmosphere. It was hard to really turn against the Sox and the Celtics and the Bruins and stuff. And so, I just like watching great contests, and it's obviously a tricky year. And, it's fun having kids who are kind of into it because you can talk to them about schematics and players and kind of the reason why they got there and stuff. And so definitely a fan of those guys. But it's just been a tricky year to follow it all.
Yeah, definitely. And, I love the bubble. I think I think the NBA and hockey for that matter has done a good job. It's been so entertaining to watch the NBA games. And I've said it feels like a March Madness type feel. Every game matters. Every game is like so important. And it's almost like you forget that no fans are even in the stadium. It's like you watch the baseball games, you can tell it's like kind of, you have that feeling like, it's something, no fans are there. It's not normal, but the NBA games are unbelievable. But so you're still a Lakers fan, I'm assuming? Still Lakers guy?
I followed, if I had to pick a team, I guess if I had to pick a team, it'd probably be Lakers. But like I said, I haven't really followed them as much since, the Kobe years. But now, like watching these young players, like the kid from Dallas, Luka, and like some of these other guys just on these teams just balling out. I mean, it's just the athleticism is just ridiculous.
Did you see his big game winner in the 3-point shot the other day? I think it was yesterday or the day before.
I mean, the kid is unbelievable.
Unreal. And one of my buddies works I think he still works there. I don't know with COVID if he's not working there anymore, but he works for the Atlanta Hawks, like in their ticket office, and he's lives in Atlanta. He's been there for a couple of years. And we had our fantasy football draft last night, and we were actually asking him, what's the feeling? I heard someone ask him, what's the feeling on trading Luka for Trae Young? Like, what's the feeling in there? And it's kind of mixed, but I mean, both guys are studs. Both those, I think they got away with. Like, I think you can get away with it because Trae Young's just a bona fide scorer. But that kid, Luka, is he's probably going to be one of the greatest players ever to play basketball. Like,
I mean, he's 21 and he's just dominating, end to end dominating. So it's pretty impressive.
And the Celtics, obviously, they swept the 76ers, which, in the beginning of the season, if someone said that, probably there would have been a lot of shocks because the 76ers were seen as like the best. People were picking them to come out of the East for the finals. And today, I think it was like an hour ago or 2 hours ago, Brett Brown actually got fired. But going into this next matchup, I don't know if you've seen. What do you think? Prediction? Do you think the Celtics win against the Raptors? You think the Raptors pull it out? I know it's tough as a Lakers fan. Lakers fans probably.
No, I mean, I followed the Celtics. Like I said, I mean, we would sit courtside at Celtics games and hang out with the guys in the Paul Pierce days. I mean, I want to see them do good. I want to see Boston in the finals for sure. I mean, that's just inherently what I want to see.
Yeah. It'd be a good Lakers-Celtics matchup in the NBA Finals this year. That would be a LeBron versus JT again. That would be a good matchup. Just out of curiosity, you mentioned you went with you would go to the Celtics games. Did you meet KG before? Have you ever met KG?
He's a pretty quiet guy.
Really?
He was there. Yeah, just as far as hanging out and going out into public and the restaurants and scene and the bars and stuff. Pretty closed off guy if you weren't in his circle. I might have met him once, but I mean those games were all fun, always fun to watch, and just where the stadium is, the Greatest Bar next door was like my jam.
Yeah, that's a great place to go before and after Celtics games and Bees games.
Yeah.
So I think we want to get into our last segment of the show, the people's topic.
The people's topic.
All right. So for all listening, people's topic, you can write into our Instagram, Twitter, even on YouTube. And we take questions every week and we read them and we'll give you a shout out on the show. So producer John, you want to, without further ado, go ahead and read our questions.
Yes, sir. So we have 3 of them this week. I am going to save the best for last. Not saying that the other ones aren't good, but Joseph Celia came in with a banger this week.
Okay.
First
frequent
one,
fan of the show.
Frequent fan. First one comes from at CMart266 on Instagram. He actually asks, what is your prediction for the next Celtics series, which I know you guys already touched on, and then he also followed that up with, what's your prediction for the next Bruins series? So I figured you already kind of mentioned the Celtics series, but if you guys have any predictions for the upcoming Bruins series.
For me, I mean, I'm going with the Bees all the way. I mean, of course I want to see the Celtics succeed in their series, and I love that little feisty dude Marchand and obviously Chara, those guys, and so for me it's like the more Boston teams we can get in those final series. I mean, I've seen it before where it's kind of the city is rocking around that time, so I love it, and I got nothing but support for those guys.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going with the Bees too. They won game 1 yesterday pretty convincingly. And they seemed to be getting, there was a lot of concerns going into it. They seemed a little off, or they were, kind of slow start in the round robin in the first couple games of the playoffs. But they seem to be hitting that, getting hot at the right time. And I think they're rolling right now. So I picked the Bees too. And that Raptors-Celtics game, I think that's going to be the best series of the Eastern Conference. I think it's going to be better than the Eastern Conference Finals. I think those 2 teams are the best teams in the East, and it's going to be a great matchup.
Agree, man. Dominate.
Sticking with the Bruins theme, we got it's like a 3-part question from.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know his but from @Justin Lavoie on Twitter. He asks, do you think Halak, Halak, it's almost a meme at this point, so I can't pronounce anyone's name.
John messes up every name that's on here.
Do you think Halak, telling me, Do you think Halak can continue to carry the Bruins in net, or will his hot hand cool down? Do you think no quote-unquote real home ice advantage has something to do with a goalie playing so consistently?
I personally think he will continue. Halak I don't think is like a normal goaltender, and I have limited hockey experience, but to me, I don't think Halak's like a normal backup goalie. I think he's, he could be a starter. He's pretty elite. Obviously, it'd be great to have Tuukka back there, but Halak has really picked up the slack. They picked it up, and I think he's going to continue. He does have the hot hand right now, and I think it's just going to continue. And as far as the home ice, it could have something to do with it, but, when you're playing at home, it's like you have that advantage, I think, as even with the goaltender, because you get that, especially in hockey, like home ice advantage is so important. And that was part of I think the Bruins' problem, kind of getting used to that in the beginning because they were such a momentum team. But I think he'll be okay. I think he's going to continue to be great, and I think the Bruins are going to continue to be great as well.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. Honestly, on the West Coast, it's tough to get some of these games on, especially with 4 kids and in this situation we're in to keep up all the sports, boys. But as mentioned, I mean, any home field advantage, home court advantage, home ice, whatever you want to call it, is that's what you play for. And I mean, that's what the fans. Obviously this year, no fans, but I think just home ice and the smell and the being in your home locker room and like just the ways of kind of being in your own comfortable place, those play a huge part in some of these, series for sure.
It's like a routine. Like you have a routine in your home. You just feel comfortable, I think, playing at your home. You don't have to like travel. You're home. You're sleeping in your own bed. It just makes you feel comfortable. And the fans also are cheering for you, not the other team. So that's like they're louder for you. So it helps you out a lot.
Yeah, and on the body as well. Just sit on a plane for however long you got to go to travel some of these games, and as soon as in football, you touch down, you go right into the training room, right in the meal room, right into meetings, and then bed check. It's like you really don't have time to do some of these things, but if you're at home, you kind of can drive your car home and have your dinner and then, kind of be on that same program. So I totally agree.
All right. We've got, so that was actually from I lost it again, at Justin_Lavoy5. Thanks for that question. Last one from at Joseph_Celia, bringing us home. All right. This one's a heater. This one might get some controversy. Choose 3 teams in all of sports you wish to never see win a title for the rest of your life.
Oh.
I don't want to get anybody in trouble here.
I mean, for me, growing up an LA Rams fan and always having the crosstown rival Raiders, whether it's upstate or whatever, and now they're in Vegas. I mean, it's tough to say I don't want to see certain players successful, or John Gruden, who I know personally, but they might be on my short list. I'm not gonna say anything, too bad, but like I said, I mean, playing in any professional sport is a dream of being when you're a child. And so, to wish bad upon them, I think it's just bad juju in general.
That's a mean question.
Yeah, that is a mean
question. but like, I'll let the fans speak to that in general.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say like I don't want any team to win. I think that's, like you said, that's bad juju or bad luck for our team. So I don't know, but.
However, tell me why you don't want the Yankees to win a world title.
I think that's
Boston.
Yeah,
that's Boston, New York. Like that's just the way it is.
Yeah, ever since I went to my first Red Sox game, I learned that the Yankees are not a team that you root for. But
I mean, playing in some of our games, they would try to start chanting "Yankees suck," and they're at a football game, and they're showing Schilling's bloody sock on third down in our games. Like, that is just, that's part of growing up in Boston. You have to not ever want to see them be successful.
Yeah.
From a franchise standpoint. And like I said, I mean, all these guys are living out dreams, man. And it's just a blessing to be at that level and be able to play on TV. And you see so many other situations around the world and life, and we're in America and playing a sport, just be grateful for a lot of things.
Yeah. And it's funny, like that you said, like the Yankees kind of like, because the Lakers are just like being from Boston, you don't like the Lakers, but I never to the degree of the Yankees, like fans wise, people just can't it's like a rivalry that's over 100 years old, like it's 100 years old. So I guess that's what it is. But I don't know. I think if I had to pick a team that, success wise, I guess it would go the Yankees, but Joseph Titt.
My pick is the Brockton Rocks.
Get out of town, dude.
The Bronx.
You don't think that's our local?
Yeah,
they play They haven't won a title since like 2003, so maybe that will help us out.
Yeah, I think I went down to. I've frequented those towns. You see Bridgewater. My wife went to Bridgewater State. Her brother did, and I remember we used to go down to yeah, I think
that's where we went. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Good.
Yeah.
Fred Martin is his name. He's a little older. Played baseball for him, but we used to go down to the Charlie Horse down in that area.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Back in the day, I would do a show with Dan Copen there called The Center of Attention. I think it was for like one of the local stations down there.
They just changed it a couple years ago. It's now a Barrett's. It's not the Charlie Horse closed, and then the other part of the family bought it. It's now Barrett's.
Good time.
Fun. Yeah,
that's crazy. That was my childhood restaurant.
Yeah, we went there. They had
do that over there.
The free dinner on your birthday. I'd go there every birthday. I'd go to the Charlie Horse. That's funny. Small world.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
We both graduated from Bridgewater State.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy small world.
I always say I'm a former collegiate athlete. I played 1 year of tennis.
Dude, I mean, the best wrist in town, they said.
That's right.
I've heard him say that.
I've heard they've said that to me before.
Yeah.
But that was our last question, right, John?
Yeah.
So thanks for the people that wrote in. Like I said, anytime, I know we posted on our story and stuff to get your questions in, but feel free anytime during the week. If you have a question, write in, we'll get to it on our Instagram at Big Red Zone. Also the same at Twitter at Big Red Zone. You can find us on YouTube. Just type in our title and hit the like button and subscribe on all our videos like this one. Lonnie, it was great having you on, man. It was great talking to you about Patriots and all that other good stuff.
I appreciate it. Appreciate the time, and appreciate people remembering my name.
And go Pats.
That's right. At the end of the day, go Pats.
And John, thanks again coming on, and thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week, everyone.
Do your job, John.